Okay, YouTube, so this is Acid Roots. I've got an album review, which is the N9ne Collabos, the Gates Mix Plate. Now, this came out in 2010, and it was off the heels of the KOD album and a couple N9ne EPs. And so we had the standard N9ne crew here, but things were kind of really dispersed with other things. And so a few of the highlights that I do recommend checking out, and it's kind of like Eminem's D12. I mean, you learn the members as you go along, but a few members that you're going to want to hear when you listen to this album are Big Scoob, Kriz Calico, Cut Calhoun, Stevie Stone. Now, Stevie Stone, I think, was relatively new to Strange Music in 2010, so he only shows up on one song, and I have no clue why Big Scoob is only on one song, but that's about the only problem. I mean, the magic here is mostly N9ne appearances. He pretty much is on almost every song, but really the guests are what are going to put the juice into the album. And so luckily Cut Calhoun and N9ne's relationship was pretty strong back in 2010, so he shows up more than 2 or 3 times. I think there's about 16, 17, 18 songs on here, so that's something. Kriz Calico is on here. He's on songs like F You Pay Me, and so look for his appearances. So really, this is just a wild shindig, and it was kind of strange, I think, concerning N9ne, just because, over the course of around that time, a couple years before 2010, Tech was really trying to iron out Strange Music, the label, and the roster. So Cut Calhoun was also dropping music around this time, and a lot of the label artists were starting to kind of take flight. But the whole thing is seeing how much people actually wanted to listen to the other artists, because a lot of times people were just here for N9ne. But it didn't take me long. I mean, I've had this album since January, and it didn't take me incredibly long. It took me a while to like the music, but it didn't take me a while to like the people on the songs. But there's a lot of people on this release that do not have Wikipedia pages, so it makes it hard to learn about them, and especially considering that it's difficult trying to find information on some of these other rappers that do show up. But there are other people who are on here kind of sprouts as far as folks who show up on Strange Music who may have actually been signed but just probably never got the chance to release an album. So there's that. Devin the Dude shows up, but he's about the only other cat that I can think of on here that has dropped music and is not on Strange Music. So OG, KCT, and Jumpin' Jacks were the 3 singles. OG is a brilliant way. That pretty much starts off the project, and it sounds kind of G-Funk, and this sounds like something Snoop Dogg or the Dog Pound would do, and N9ne does it pretty well. Just kind of a lazy song, kind of similar to something Cut Calhoun would do also. And KCT is the drinking song. That one is pretty wild. I definitely feel like the bass on that is definitely one to go out to. And Jumping Jacks took a little bit longer to get used to. That's the song I'm on the fence about. And so that one kind of sounds swirling. It's harder to describe, but it has more of a kind of hypnotizing beat versus a just kind of something different. So After Party, that one is another one. I like that one. That has Devin the Dude on there. Piano keys on that work pretty well. Gamer, I mean, Cut Calhoun had a pretty gamer sounding song on his Raw and Uncut album, so that sounds pretty similar to the single released from that album. The song Gamer does, so look out for that one. N9ne and Cut kind of trade verses on there. So me liking 8 out of 18 songs. I will give this album about a 5 out of 10. I mean, I want to give it a higher score, but that's way too few to really do it. And so listen to this. It's a messy project, and it's hard, you know, because the songs that were released as radio songs do not necessarily have guests on there that you get to hear them. Like when I reviewed the Misery Loves Company project, you had Cut Calhoun and Chris Calico right on the singles, but it's not the case this time, and you know, you really have to dive head first to get to know some of these artists. So that's about the only thing, is it's just all over the place, and some of the production on here is not fantastic, which is kind of the reason why N9ne was a hard listen for me before. But some of these beats will grow on you. I don't think, like, the immediate highlights, I would say go for OG, KCT, and F You Pay Me, and possibly Gamer. But it just takes time. That's the whole thing. I mean, that's the trick about N9ne, is he's not really immediate. And once you get over that, it becomes eventually easier, but just realize that you're going to have to deal with N9ne's crew in order to do it. And you get used to N9ne, well, it's like you still got Chris Calico, you still got Cuddy, you still got Big Scoob and the rest of the folks to get used to. But I mean, if you're just looking for people who dropped albums, I would also recommend just getting the Strange Music. So that's kind of, you know, for folks that are not newcomers, I still think that this release is a mixed bag, and it kind of weighs to the side of being lightweight versus more to the heavyweight side. And it could have used a lot better production. We really could have used more singles that identified the members. But it's kind of a hidden treat. I mean, really, I'm wondering how much attention this project kind of received, because even on Spotify, the most popular songs really don't get past like 10 or 15 million. So, you know, once again. But the social score, I will give a 6, because it did have 3, and these are basically N9ne songs that are pretty well put together. And the only other thing besides that is, can this record be topped? The answer is yes, it can. And the future, I mean, N9ne is dropping an album in December, so be aware of that. It's going to be some fun.